Now, of course, when we're talking about the Oppo Find 7, we have to talk about that stunning display. Now, in the actual press event that happened, or the launch rather, we did hear that they were originally thinking of making a 6-inch phone, but personally I think it was a lot better to pick a 5.5-inch screen that now has Quad HD, and now that's 2560 by 1440 resolution, which is absolutely incredible. On top of that, you have 538 pixels per inch, basically just beating out any other device that's currently on the market. And now, while we might not be able to actually show you in real time this particular feature, one thing we really are very excited about is the ultra fast charging capability. Now, the name might be a little bit convoluted, but the VOOC, or in our case, we called it the multi-step constant current charging, allows for really fast charging from 0 to 75% in just half an hour. Now, I don't have any footage of the charging actually happening, and you don't see that percent going up, but in our testing, we did find that it went up by 5% in just a couple minutes. No matter which way you slice it, that's just absolutely just really a big prospect, and is really amazing. Now, one thing we have to tell you is that the phone requires a special charger, or the one that came with it, if you want to take advantage of that fast charging capability. The main reason being because there is technology in the big block itself that works with the battery that has the same technology, and they work in congruence. So if you use other chargers, it's most likely that you're going to get a more normal charging speed. We're looking at aesthetics in the next feature, and that is the skyline notification light that you find at the bottom of the phone. It is a nice curved light at the bottom where the light starts in the middle and then it permeates across the bottom, and it just looks really attractive. It's something that you can't help but notice, especially when the screen is off and you see that light just sort of come on. There's a little bit of special technology under there, but all in all, we find this to be one of the most attractive notification lights out there right now. And now we move on to the feature that I'm actually probably the most excited about, and that's the camera. What we're looking at here is a 13 megapixel new Sony Exmor RS sensor that allows for a lot of capability, primarily because Oppo has really been trying to think outside of the box when it comes to their software package, when it comes to the app. Basically, you have a pretty simple looking app with a lot of power underneath. Not only do you have 4K video recording, which you're looking at right now, even though this video can only be rendered in 1080p, but you also have a nice feature. Yes, we do have to cover it, the 50 megapixel super zoom technology, or rather the capability that is built in which it takes a bunch of different photos and then puts the best ones together in order to create from the 13 megapixel optics a huge 50 megapixel shot. After that, though, there are a few features that I'm really excited to put through its paces in a feature focus, like shooting in RAW format, and of course, coming back to that 4K video capture, we want to see how Oppo really does it. And the sample that we have actually looked quite great, so that is what we're focusing on in the future once we get our hands on a review unit. The next couple of features are going to be pretty simple, but they are huge game changers, at least for Oppo. And one of them is the expandable storage that you now have underneath that back cover, which is now removable as well, which is another first. Underneath that cover, there is that little crevice that you use in order to take the battery out, and it is under that area that you have the micro SD card slot. And also, it is able to take the high capacity SD cards that go up to 128 gigabytes. So you have a lot of storage available to you on top of the 16 or 32 gigabytes, depending on which model you get. And yet, talking about another first for Oppo is the fact that the Find 7 is the first Oppo device to be able to connect to LTE networks, which means that you'll be able to take advantage of your AT&T or T-Mobile if you're in the US, or your high speed pretty much anywhere you are. And that's a big deal because anybody like myself who are kind of sick of the HSPA plus connectivity will now find blazing fast speeds when it comes to their mobile internet, and on a phone that happens to be blazing fast itself. And our final feature that we're going to cover in this top 7 for the Find 7 is the build quality that sports either a brushed back or a carbon fiber back. Either one feels really nice and makes it look really great, though I will say that the carbon fiber probably feels a little bit more secure in the hand due to its texture. The Find 5 originally was, to me, a little bit of a heavier phone, but I did not blame it at all because it had that 5-inch 1080p display, and it was one of the first to sport that. And it also had steel elements in there. Well, the Find 7, despite being just about as heavy, maybe a little bit more, happens to have a much better weight distribution, and that's the reason why I actually really love using it. Even at 5.5 inches in the screen, it wasn't that hard to maneuver around the phone. But overall, you have a very attractive device, not only with those little aesthetic changes like the LED notification light and the carbon fiber on the back, but ultimately you have what might be one of the prettiest looking phones available out in the market today. And so there you have it for these top 7 features on the Oppo Find 7. Like I said, we're finishing up our coverage on the Oppo Find 7 launch, and this was just a quick look at some of the best ones that we think really set this phone apart. So stay tuned to Android Authority for all of the best coverage, including our Oppo Find 7 first look and hands-on that you see right here and is linked right over on the side. Stay tuned for even more coverage of it, including some verses, and once we get our hands on a review unit, we're going to give you all of the great bits and pieces that really make this phone very special. So keep it tuned to Android Authority for all of that, and remember to head on over to the website in order to see our even more in-depth coverage of it, because we are your source for all things Android.